Hey everybody, it's Melissa. Hope you're doing well today. Let me get this set up for you. Let's see here. So glad you're here in the Bakery Business School Facebook group. Okay, I think we are set up to go. Today's topic, what they don't tell you about pricing. So this is a good one today, especially if you're here with me live for the Thursday Fave session, because this topic might bring up some questions for you. So that's why I provide these live for you every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, if you're here with me on the replay, go ahead and throw up your hashtag replay so that I know that you've seen this content. That'll just help me know what you like to watch, how you're feeling about what we're doing, that kind of thing. It just helps me make this even better for y'all. There's Tiana, good to see you, hashtag live. Thank you so much for doing that. Now today, our topic about what they don't tell you about pricing is going to bring up 3 really important points that I want you to know, because pricing can sometimes be something that bakers tend to be really passionate. I'll say that, okay? Bakers are passionate, just as I am. They want to serve their community, their families. They want to make, they want to create, they want to be that person, which is wonderful. But sometimes that means that pricing is kind of an afterthought. And so today I wanted to share these 3 things with you so that you can kind of get outside of the box, open your mind to what pricing can be for you, how it can actually help you grow your business outside of just being a number. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, what I want to do is start you off with what they do tell you, right? What is the most common thing that we hear when people tell us about pricing? And it's a number and you just need to pick one. All right. Has anyone ever heard that? Have you been thinking about your pricing, asking people what they think, and they're just like, just pick one, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I see that in this industry specifically. I think because there is so much normally passion fueling the business, fueling the baking part of it, that the pricing sometimes feels kind of out of place because maybe you didn't necessarily go into baking to make money. Maybe you hadn't ever really considered selling your products, but people were telling you to sell your products because they were so good. And you're thinking, oh, I guess I can, but that's not really where my head is, right? So a lot of times I say, it's just a number. Now, I often hear that bakers are pricing their products in the following manner to get that number: emotional pricing, copycat pricing, estimating, materials times 3, and just an afterthought tag on. These are just common things that I thought of right off the bat that I see pretty commonly here locally, any place I've ever lived, and here in this group that's worldwide. It's just common for the industry and really kind of any handmade industry. Now, there are inherent issues to these types of pricing, everything that I just listed out. Even if you've been taught them in culinary school, which has been said about the materials times 3 specifically. I'm not sure why some schools are teaching that. To me, there's a problem with all of these, including that one. And it's that each situation that I listed off, it is a number, right? It's a number, but there's no backbone of precision to these. These are all just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. I don't really care if I make any money. This is kind of more of a hobby. I'm not interested in putting much time into this. That's kind of where all of those are. So the precision and the understanding is what takes a hobby to that business standpoint, right? That's how you can kind of cross that gap and sustain what you're doing for years to come. Keep the doors open, make sure that you can continue to serve your community because you're not pulling from your own personal funds to try to fund a thing that you think is a business, but it's actually a hobby. And as you get baking and you're baking a lot and you are serving your community, more than likely you're going to get to the point where you're burnt out. You're going to be feeling tapped out as far as time and energy goes. And sometimes at that point, we need to have an income to make the rest of our lives more comfortable so that we continue feeling okay, really, working hard for our community and baking and serving them. If you're still struggling to pay your bills, the rest of the time, it's going to be hard to weigh that out and continue to put out that kind of effort in a labor-intensive business that we are in, which is baking. You have to physically do it. There can be kind of a shift change there. So we want to avoid feeling completely burned out, feeling completely lacking in income. The rest of your life isn't, panning out as well because you're spending money on this thing that you think is a business. We want to avoid that situation. Okay, so the precision and understanding, hobby to business. Once you get the precision, you can hop over to the business side because you know that you can sustain it with your numbers. And you can't run a business on copycat numbers, estimate numbers, vague formulas, like the materials times 3, which isn't taking anything into account besides materials, which is only one of 5 things that you have to be looking at to get a profitable price. So I'm not exactly sure where that was dreamt up, but it's not going to protect wages, profitability, anything that, well, really any of it. So depreciation, overhead, profitability, and wages, all of those things aren't even being talked about. So you have no idea if those are even being covered at this point. Okay, so just wanted to lay out what they do tell you is that it's a number and you need to pick one. And that's pretty much it. We're going to cover 3 kind of behind the scenes, what is your pricing, to help you get outside of that number box and think about what's going on the outside that's actually helping you construct your pricing outside of it just being a number. Hey, Jennifer, #live, good to see you. Hey, yes. Hey, Kelsey. Hey, Tisha, good to see you. #live, glad you're here. So excited to have you. Now, if you are here live with these people, go ahead and put your #live up as well. Let me know that you're here. In the comments, either #live or replay, I want you to let me know, how confident do you feel about your pricing, your numbers right now? It doesn't matter to me if it's a 1 or a 10. I just want to kind of feel out the group to kind of see where everyone's sitting. So 1 is not so much, I'm kind of just floating it, just sort of came up with something. And then 10 is feeling great. So anywhere in there, let me know, and then I can kind of look back at the numbers and see just where everyone's sitting. And that fluxes over time, I get it. So just let me know how you feel today. All right. Now we get into the good stuff. Now, what they don't tell you about pricing? Three big things. Number 1 is your price is a positioning tactic, not just a number. So even if you went through and did all this, like the formula that we do in the pricing for profit course, 5-part formula, even if you came up with a number in there that's correct, that's profitable, there's still a positioning aspect of that number, which could affect where you're going to land. Positioning in your industry, in our case is baking, right? It's a tool to let people know where you stand in the offer ladder of similar businesses. Okay. Does that mean you have to go out and do market research and spend a bunch of money, thousands, trying to figure out what people are doing? No, you don't necessarily have to do that, but going out and at least going on people's websites, kind of seeing what they're offering, what their pricing structure is like, not so that you can use the numbers, but so that you can see their positioning and where you can fit in. Okay. So are you the cheapest in town? Probably serving the cheapest products. If you're going to be the cheapest in town, that's what I would expect. So are you the cheapest in town, or do you serve high-end clients and cater to both in high-end goods and services, right? And I'm just using these examples to show you the spectrum. So are you the cheapest in town? Are you the high-end? You could be somewhere in the middle, but where are you when you would kind of think of it on a line? When I say high-end clients and catering to high-end services and products, now you wouldn't expect this person saying they have high-end services having the same price as the person who's the cheapest in town serving low quality products, right? Because the pricing is part of your positioning, and that can place you on a line as far as which audience is going to be more attracted to your products. Now, I want to say something real quick here and interject it, just because I don't know if you all saw what we talked about last week, but it's really important. So are you the cheapest baker in town? Are you knowingly lowering your prices or keeping your prices low? I wanted to bring to light that if you are purposefully doing this, keeping your prices low for usually a number of emotional reasons, right? You feel bad. Something about it, maybe making money, charging money. Maybe there's something internally, you have a money mindset thing that's making you feel bad. You want everyone to be able to afford your items. At that point, that's again a mindset thing. Not everyone's it's more about priority than affordability. Everyone has a different priority at different points in their life. The affordability is going to keep you unable to charge the prices that pay your bills, because you're going to imagine that affordability means cheap, but that's not always true. Affordability for the priority in which they need it, if that makes sense. So that's a whole other topic, but just bringing up some ideas. Maybe you don't want to commit. Maybe you are scared of being judged. So if I have a higher price, I'm going to be judged more swiftly for my products or my services. Maybe you feel like your items aren't worth it because you have some self-esteem issues going on, etc. If that's you, I would highly suggest listing these feelings off on a little notepad. Grab a piece of paper. It's just for you. Writing out some reasons, and let it just be really raw, okay? Writing out some reasons why you feel like I'm purposefully keeping my prices low for these reasons. And then I want you to watch last week's video about limiting beliefs, because I guarantee it won't be a waste of your time if you're kind of feeling this in the back end. And you might be able to take those few moments from the video, some things that I'm talking about, and understand more about why you're limiting your baking business internally. If that's interesting to you at all, if you feel like you want to kind of understand it or get out from under it, it's just food for thought. It's something I want to bring up because you might be there. So that was a little bit of a side note. Now back to the positioning inside your industry with your price. Keep in mind that copycat pricing is not going to work if you want to have effective positioning. Why is that? Well, first of all, just to kind of give you an example, copycat pricing is like finding a price sticker on the ground. Like you literally are like, oh, I'm standing inside of a bakery. I'm just going to pick this price sticker up off the ground and I'm going to put it on my product, and that's what we're going to do. It has absolutely nothing to do with your numbers, and it's not effective pricing strategy. So just finding a number somewhere from somebody somewhere and putting it on your product does not work. Like it's just, there's no way that you could ever know how much you're making on that product, just inherently, because you haven't done any of the math, right? Additionally, you do not want to position yourself right next to another business. So if you've done that, if you've taken a price from somebody else local or whatever, well, usually local, because bakers usually deal locally unless you're shipping online or, shipping, you're going to be positioning yourself right next to another business in the same bracket. And so this leads to those businesses sharing a pool of clients, right? So if you imagine that pricing structure has, here's the lowest, here's the highest, and then attached to each section is a group of clients who have normally the funds and or priorities to pay at certain prices for certain things. They're also expecting certain things normally at those levels, okay? So if that's happening, or not necessarily, there are expectations, but more of, do your offers match what they're paying for? Do your offers match what they need at those? It could be really good customer service at the top. It might not even be your products. It might just be, how do they feel when they work with you? Okay, so all of those in this section. If you're copycat pricing, you're competing for the same set of people in your area, especially if the product is very similar. And you don't want to do that because there's only so many people in that slot, if that makes sense. So you could position yourself up or down, preferably for you up, because you're here and I want you to make more income with your baking, and hit another set of clients that aren't being served. And you just use your offers and make them appropriate for that group, whatever it is they need more of to go higher. That's what you provide. It might not have anything to do with your products. It might have to do with other offers and services, like adding a delivery option. Some people don't deliver, some people do. The people who deliver make more money and they get more business because they've changed their pool of clients by changing the offer and changing the pricing, if that makes sense. Okay, let me look here real quick. Got Denise. Hi, Denise. Good to see you. #live. Oh, I'm so glad you're here, Denise. You're a really great addition to the group. I love to hear from you. I love your questions. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Jennifer, Kelsey putting in their thoughts on their pricing. Denise is 7 to 8. Reaching different people. Yes, exactly. Faith is a 6. Tiana's 5. Materials and time and taxing fees, but for pop-ups and craft fairs, I might struggle with face-to-face. Yeah, for sure, Tiana. Materials, time, taxes, and fees. So I'm not sure, of course, everyone's numbers are going to be different. We're going to talk about that at the very end. But I would also suggest some of the other things that I include in the pricing formula inside our course, the Pricing for Profit, is overhead. Because even if you're working from home, you're going to have some kind of overhead in there that's going to attribute to what it takes for you to do what you do. Depreciation, that helps you pay off your tools so you're not having to pull from outside funds. So it allows your business to pay for itself. And then you have materials and wages or your time, taxes and fees, which would be kind of under the overhead category. And then there's also profit percentage. So that's something that's outside of what you're paying yourself, something that you collect and save for your business. So, and you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. It's just there to help cushion your business. So I would suggest possibly there are a couple other things that could be taken into account for your pricing, depending on what your numbers are looking like. Just want to put that out there. All right, number 2, this is what they don't tell you about pricing. Your price is marketing. Okay, so it's positioning and marketing at the same time. So just as it's that positioning tool, you can use it to help your marketing. When we cover pricing psychology in the Elite program, we touch on how you can use numbers, certain numbers, sets of numbers, placement of numbers, colors of numbers, sales, timing, and more, with buyer psychology fueling more purchasing. So yes, it's a number, but it's also marketing. And choosing a number, that's one of those outside of the box effects on that number, is the marketing side of it. So keep in mind that if your prices are hard to look at or calculate, your customers won't like that because it's complicated. It's too much work for their brains. And honestly, when people are buying things, it usually has a lot of emotional pull as well. That turns that part of the brain off for people because they're focused on the emotions. So if your pricing is difficult to deal with and you can tell, and you even yourself have trouble calculating what you're doing, super complicating the pricing, changing the prices for every single little thing, nickel and diming people, that is absolutely losing you sales because of the psychology and the difficulty of the process of landing a sale. So think about that as far as the marketing aspects of what you're doing, how people are viewing what you're doing, how much mental energy does it take for them to understand what you're trying to sell them and how much it is and how much it's going to be if they bundle it or whatever the situation is. You want to try to streamline that as much as possible. So that's why we cover average pricing in the Pricing for Profit course. It will show you how to set up a price using that 5-part formula, but then we cover average pricing so that you can price a section of products that are similar but not the same with an average price, so that when someone wants to buy a thing or you're marketing a thing, it's very simple. It makes menu creation a lot easier. It makes quoting like 75% less amount of time because it's already in there as a set number. You don't have to do all this nickel and dime moving around. And then the ordering is so much easier for everybody involved because there's not any questions about what's going on, changing prices for flavors, changing, maybe by the size, because that's a different category. And it would be up to you how you want to set this up. But the average price itself leads you to sell more and them to understand what they're buying, rather than having to be wrapped up in all these tiny little numbers that are changing left and right. So leads to more sales and happier clients if the marketing aspect is taken into account when you're setting up your prices. And the last one that they don't tell you, and maybe someone has told you this, but I just want to really hit this one home because I think there's kind of a disconnect sometimes when it comes to the difficulty of setting up pricing. Your pricing is a unique number that only you can calculate. So it is your job as an entrepreneur that is looking to sustain a profitable business over time. If that's what you want, if you want a hobby, you can do whatever you want because it's a hobby, you're going to pay for it, right? It's not meant to make money. If you want it to make money, you want it to grow, you want it to at least sustain itself, there has to be some back end thought put into what you're generating You're putting the work out and you're bringing something in. You're putting the work out and you're bringing something in. If you're not thinking about what you're bringing in, there's no way that you would ever know that what you're putting out is making sense. So asking people, and I'm just bringing this up because it happens a lot, not so much in this group, but in a lot of other groups, okay? Asking what people would charge for X, Y, Z. Anything under the sun, asking them what they would charge is a waste of your time and their time. It is just a waste of time. People will comment on your post, but that doesn't mean that it's information that you need to run a successful business. So using their price, their completely calculated price for a product makes no sense. It's not based on anything that you have going on. So it's just, at that point, it's literally just a number that doesn't have any, it would be hard to take anything out of that that's useful. Their region, skill level, ingredients, positioning, marketing, circumstances, and more all affect what they are doing. And it's not the same for you. And it wouldn't be because you're a different person, right? So you may feel like you're maybe gathering market data when you're asking people for their numbers, but I promise you that you can skip this whole thing because there isn't any good data in that. There's not going to be data that you can use to make your prices because that's not part of the formula. That's not part of what you need to know what's going on with your numbers. If you have a thorough formula to price your items, you'll know exactly what to charge and you won't ever have to ask questions again because you don't need to know what other people charge because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't affect what you're doing because then you have a choice of should I sell the product or not? Should I change the product a little bit to make it more profitable? Should I bundle it to make it more profitable? Should I cut the fat because it's not making me any money? You have to your numbers create those answers. Those other people can't because they don't have the power to do it. They don't have your numbers. So again, at this point, with that pricing, the thorough pricing information, you get to decide if you want to sell it or not based on, is it profitable? That's pretty much it. There are things in the industry that we aren't talking about today that we've covered in the elites, like a loss leader. There are certain products that you can sell that don't make you any money, but that's like advertising and marketing. It's a completely different thing. I would not suggest taking that into consideration when you're setting up your pricing for your everyday menu, for your seasonal menu, for anything that you need to sustain your business, because that subject is not going to bring money back in as you're putting product out. So as a good example, and I see this question pretty often, let's say I asked 100 bakers what they would charge for a single cake pop, okay? Cake pops are all the rage, right? Okay. I am sure that I would get everything from $1 to $10 per cake pop, right? It would just be a range between probably $1 to $10. But that doesn't help me price mine. So I know what other people around the world are charging, but that does not affect anything of what I'm doing, right? It tells me that they're able to sell it at that price, but I have no idea who their customers are, what country they live in, what's going on in their industry where they live. I have no idea. So I could run the numbers through a pricing formula, a thorough one, and see that I have to charge $7.50 per pop to make it profitable for me. That's how it's going to have to be. So for me, I could probably sell them at $7.50 each, but I would have to market them a certain way. I would have to wrap them up in a service that I'm not really interested in doing because I don't like making cake pops. It's not something that I'm excited about. I can do it. They look great. I just don't want to. So no cake pops for me, right? So that helped me choose my menu, set up what I was going to offer, cut the fat. So it's not actually the whole pricing formula helps me decide what I'm going to sell too. That's kind of the good thing about knowing the numbers is then you can start deciding like, what is my business actually going to be about? Because I need it to be making money, not a hobby. So what am I going to sell to do that for me personally with my numbers, with my skill level, with my region? How am I going to make this work? And it's as easy as that. So it might sound complicated to get the pricing set up. It might take a couple of days, but once you have the numbers in front of you, it's much easier to decide what you're going to do with your time, how you're going to set up your menu, what are your offers going to be, because you know what's what is going to make the most sense for you and your clients right now. And it's not of a snap your fingers deal. Pricing is not like, oh, done, but really, is anything that's worth anything like that? No, you have to sit down and actually do some stuff. So you might take a couple days, like I mentioned, to focus on it, bring all those numbers together. For me, it kind of feels like a scavenger hunt at first. I'm going to go through my bills. I'm going to find the little numbers that I need here and there. Usually they're in your email. Maybe you have some mailed things, whatever you have, couple things like that. Learning how to cost out a recipe, and it's just a little chart, how many dollars and pennies do I have in this specific little cup of batter? What's going on with that? You fill out a few charts, you have your calculator out, calculate the numbers that you need to fill in the chart, and then you see a big total at the end, and it tells you exactly what needs to be done. So for me personally, I revamp pricing about once a year, depending on what's going on in my industry, if I'm noticing any ingredients rising, things like that. Or if I move to another state, of course, you're going to redo it because your bills are different, or just as needed. If I feel like I'm ready to up level because it's been 15 years now, 20 years now, however many years, I'll give myself a little pay raise. You get the knowledge of how much you have in each sale, which is golden. Where you could trim the fat if something isn't working. It's going to tell you, it's not going to lie to you. It's going to tell you right up, hey, Melissa, this isn't working. You can either add something onto this service to get people to pay more for it, or you can just cut it if you're not interested. Don't worry about it. That one's not working. And then you can also figure out how to add lucrative options because you know the inside out of the numbers. So it's a lot easier to figure out, ooh, I could do that and make more money because I know XYZ from the last time I did this. You become more seasoned to professional pricing and pricing on the spot because you understand the underlying part of it. And it becomes a skill, right? To just lay something out. You can still run the numbers and make sure you're right. But a lot of times you've already kind of done some calculations. I know those bags are 23 cents. I know that sticker is 15 cents. I know it takes me about an hour to make $30 an hour. So 30, and then it just becomes kind of a quick little calculation if you want to do something on the fly. And honestly, it can be simple if you just let it be simple and go through the process. That's what you just have to commit to the idea that you're ready to have these numbers. You're ready to have professional pricing. You're ready to make this work long-term. You just need to commit to it, essentially. Okay. Denise says, isn't that though similar to looking at other bakery prices online? Hey, Amber. Denise, sorry, I didn't see that until now. Let me know what you mean. Isn't that though similar to looking at other bakery? Can you rephrase that real quick, Denise? I want to answer it, but I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Denise says, where do you purchase your stickers from? So right now, because of our location, I have literally just been buying Avery stickers in different sizes and printing them here. It's just a lot easier for me to deal with. I'm sure I could probably get a similar price from, getting like a bunch on a roll, but I have certain labels that I use pretty consistently that sometimes have to change depending on the weight of the product or what I have going on, the parts that California wants you to have in the label. So I like to have the ability to print them on demand with what the information that needs to be on it for the certain sizes. So I just do it here. So I don't have a good resource, to order bulk stickers or anything like that. Denise says, how many different size boxes do you stock and where do you purchase from? A lot of my boxes just come straight from Amazon from a couple different sellers. For me, I try to actually formulate my offers. This might seem kind of silly, but I try to formulate my offers to fit into, well, I have 2 different shipping boxes and like 5 different size boxes, but those fit cookies, sheet cakes, and cupcakes, depending on what's going on with the size. And then I have a couple cupcake containers as well that I use, and then little single ones that I use for Cocoa Bomb. Well, Cocoa Bombs go in the cupcake containers. So yeah, so boxes, it really just depends on your offers. That's the thing, is I don't know exactly what you're selling or the size of it. You can literally just measure things out and then go online and then get a box that's either made specifically for that product, like macaron, like a thin macaron holder, or if it's cookies, you can just kind of measure out, lay them out on the table, measure out how big it is, depending on how you want them to sit, and then try to find a box. So online, I have a couple sellers that I could link for you if you want to see what I'm talking about, but it's really super specific to your offers. Tiana says, what happens when costs go up randomly every so often? For instance, here in Hawaii, the cost of butter and eggs has gone up a lot. Eggs is $13.98, butter. Oh, wow. So if they go up randomly, if it were me and that's quite a bit. I don't know what it was before. So I use average pricing like I was talking about before. And when that's the case, you take, let's say it's my cakes, you take the least expensive recipe and you average out a cost per cup of batter, or if it's donuts, a cost per donut, whatever it is. And then the most expensive one, you cost that one out per cup of batter or per item. And then you average them together and that's what you're charging. So just to keep it simple, if the cheapest was, basically, I'm not going to do the math I don't want to confuse anyone, but you just meet in the middle. That's usually how I do it. So if for some reason the price of your ingredients has gone up very quickly, I would probably take a day or two and revamp the pricing, meet at that higher level. If something happens, and just let everyone know, hey, I'm sure y'all have noticed the grocery store prices have been higher, thus I have to raise mine as well. Here we are. So it's nothing against you or them. They understand it's materials issue, however you need to do it. That's if it's happening, if it's going up and down a lot during the year, I would just meet it at the highest level and go from there. So you would just know that you're making enough with each sale, no matter if it's at the high level or lower. That's how I would do it. Tisha said, clear bags and Nashville wraps are almost always the cheapest. I usually don't buy till I have most of my pre-sales, so I know how many I need and don't have a ton. Yeah. Yep. I try to actually, kind of depends on what I'm doing, but I have some subscriptions and things that I do every month, and I can kind of guesstimate how much I'm going to sell usually. And I don't have a ton of storage space either. So I do pre-sales, as Tisha's talking about, and then order. But I usually keep about a month's worth of something that I know I'm going to use that following month, just to make sure I'm not running out, or if there's a shortage, or if it doesn't get shipped or something like that happens. I usually keep that in stock. And then some stuff though, like the big boxes, I have to order like 100, or I have to order 50. That's okay. I just bite it and I get it, and then I just store it until they're gone, and then, move on from there. Denise, you're welcome. I didn't see your reformatted question, so if you have it, let me know from before. Okay. Hey, Joanne, good to see you. Alrighty, so as I mentioned, it can be simple if you want it to be. Some people make this really complicated. I'm not exactly sure why. It doesn't have to be. It's just, I think it should be thorough enough for you to be able to look at that number and understand that the past, present, and future of your business have been taken into account. Everything's being covered. You're profitable. You're profitable with every single sale. So I don't think that there should be any question about that whenever you're making a sale. I think that leads to issues, self-confidence issues, that wishy-washy pricing. Oh, this thing is $12. Well, will you take 10? Yes. Well, no, if it's $12 and that's what's profitable, you're not taking 10 because it's $12, right? So I think that having that hard precision backbone of a number allows you to be very much like, this is how much it is because I know my numbers. Like, I know this is what I need. If you don't want it, that's okay. I can't go any lower than that. That's what I need. And I think that some clients actually appreciate that. They want to test your boundaries. If you tell them, just like a kid, right? If you tell them, no, thank you, this is what we're doing, a lot of times they'll stick with it. You won't see them drop off because they were just kind of seeing what you would do. That doesn't mean that their priority has changed. It doesn't mean they won't pay you. It just means they were asking what you were doing, right? So you just keep that in mind, right? It can be done. It will save you a lot of heartache down the road because you know that what you have makes sense. So we're going to be walking bakers just like you through the steps of profitable pricing in a bootcamp and online course mashup. And that's starting in just a few days, kicking off February 21st. So that's like 4 days from now. If you want to get in, that's open to you. I think I'm going to do this maybe once a year. If you don't get in this time, you're going to probably have to wait until 2023, which is a lot of lost sales. Lost income. If your pricing is not where you want it to be, you need some more information. You need to understand what's going on. You need to at least see the back end of what profitable pricing would look like. How can that help you? How can that make you a stronger business owner? How can that get you to your next dream, your next step, your next goal? We're going to be covering all of that over the weeks of the bootcamp and the course that we're going to be doing together. So if you'd like to discover exactly what you should be charging to have a profitable business and gain that power and enlightenment state that comes with having that information is power, knowledge is power. So if you want to get into that state concerning your finances, this is something that I would highly suggest you take a look at. Now, before I get off of here, I want anyone to submit more questions if you have any today. This is all I have for you today, covering what they don't tell you about pricing, looking outside of the box in. It's not just a number, there's other things going on. Okay, so ask your questions if you have any. And feel free to message me or comment here more pricing information or pricing bootcamp or whatever you want to comment. I will send you the details directly so it doesn't get lost in Facebook. You'll have a link so you can see if it's a good fit for you in your journey. It might be something you need right now. It might be something you just want to take a look at and kind of see how you feel. It is definitely something that I suggest any entrepreneur looking into. Depending on your limiting beliefs, you might not feel ready. If you watch the live from last week, as I mentioned before earlier in this session, it might help give you the understanding of why you're limiting your business and what's happening there, so you can gain that little bit of confidence boost to move forward with the profitable pricing, because you're worth it. Working your butt off. You love this. You want this to be your business. You want this to be your life. Let's get the pricing on par so that you start attracting the clients that you're going to need for that new pricing, and then you can move on from there, right? We need to kind of kick you in the booty a little bit, show you what's going on, give you the charts, give you the numbers set up so that you know exactly what you need to do. And I'll be there every step of the way with you, right? I'll be there the whole time. That's the point of the boot camp. I'm not usually there live in the course. So this boot camp is a special opportunity for you to walk through the course with me. I'll give you little cutesy worksheets to keep you focused. It's really fun. I'm really excited to do this with you. So if you're interested, send me a message, drop a comment, and I will post a link to the little info application page if you want to read a little bit about it. Join the application with your info, and it'll send you like the dates and times and what's going on, so you can double check that everything's going to work for you. Okay, let me check the questions real quick. Asking others for prices makes no sense. Therefore, when comparing online to local bakeries or bakeries makes sense. I don't remember exactly saying that. I might have missaid something. What I was mentioning that you're asking about is looking around at other people's prices is okay to see, but only to see where you can position yourself with your profitable pricing and kind of formulating it to fit into that position that you want to be in, if that makes sense. So you're not copying someone else's price and just taking their price and saying, we're going to have the same prices because I want to compete with them. Not that, but saying, okay, if their item is $4, I'm going to sell it for $6, but I'm going to have better customer service, right? Or I'm going to sell it for $6, but I'm going to have better packaging. I'm going to have better marketing. I'm going to, there's things that you can add on to your offers that aren't actually dependent on your product itself, but the way that your business interacts with the customer. People pay more for certain things, not necessarily the product itself, but how they feel when they work with the business. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm not saying you don't need to look around, but you don't need to take other people's prices as your own. Copycat pricing, if that makes sense. You're welcome, Jennifer. I think I'm going to upgrade to cake and cookie boxes with windows for more appeal thoughts. Yeah, Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think being able to see it inside the box is a good idea. I think custom orders, maybe not, because at least for me with cakes and things, uh, sunlight can affect dyes. So for anything that's custom, I always have everything covered up as best I can. If you're trying to sell things at a market or something where they need to see the product before they purchase it, then yes. Kind of up to you otherwise. If they've already purchased it and you've taken good photos, they've viewed the photos and now you're packaging it up and they're picking it up, unless it's gift wrapped or something similar. I don't know that I worry so much about the window, but that's definitely totally up to you, whatever feels good for you. Hey, Sarah Uzma, good to see you. Hi. Please send me. Okay. Yep. I'll send you the link in just a few moments when we get off here. Okay. All right. That's it for me today. If you have any other questions about what we're doing for the Pricing for Profit Bootcamp, the course that's up, or whipping up your profitable pricing, let me know. We're starting in just a few days. I would love for you to take part so you can get in there and get a really good foothold with your pricing, your finances, and make 2022 the best year you've seen so far. Okay. All right. I'll see you later. Thanks so much for hanging out today. I'll be in the group and I will talk to you later.